Good morning and welcome back to the show. It's myself and Dia today.
What's up, dude?
We don't have guests today, so we're jamming on something that is close to our hearts. It's something that we end up in quite a lot of conversations around. We've started a business together. I've started a business with other friends. We're in that entrepreneurial space. We're talking to a lot of people that are going through this process, either, let's say, small to medium businesses where we just kind of like jam on the day-to-day and try and kind of like share some knowledge. And then outside of that, we jam with people that are maybe in jobs that are looking to try and set something up, but they're not quite sure how to go about it. So we're going to try and add some value today to those that are either just got started and just trying to work out their plan, or they're just thinking about maybe taking that leap,
step, right?
But they haven't quite done it.
Yeah,
so.
and it's especially in today's age, the entrepreneurs are becoming the rock stars of today, right? Everybody wants to become an entrepreneur.
I don't feel like a rock star.
But that's the reality of it. I think from the outside, everybody looks at the
it looks rosy, right? It looks rosy. You work your own hours, 100%. You make loads of money. That's just not true.
And when it comes to the reality of it, and then you kind of like are faced with the challenges and how sometimes very difficult, and it could be like a massive failure if things go wrong. So we wanted to talk today about like the 5 maybe main pillars for you to consider before starting a business, and what are the things that you want to like keep in mind to make sure that if you are taking that leap, it's done in a safe way, it's done in a calculated way, and without taking too much risk. And I think we've got a few different points.
Let's jump into it. I think we've actually got more than 5, but we're gonna jam with it. One of the ones that we're going to leave the why you're getting into business to a little bit later, because I think it's quite an obvious one, and it's something that's very individual to each person. So we're going to look at something else to start with, and we're going to look at the basic question of your business. Why does the world need your business? Yeah. So why on earth would why is someone going to do business with you? Why are they going to pay for your services or buy your products? What are you doing where is that gap that's in the market that you're actually solving? So, right. I mean, that would definitely be the first one. Why does the world need your business?
Sure. And that's also the one that a lot of people get stuck at. Yeah. Because a lot of the times, if you don't find an answer that will set you apart from the rest of the market, you realize, well, maybe I don't really need to start a business because there are other people who are selling ice cream, or there are other people who are agencies or photographers or videographers. And that could be the first biggest challenge for all of us to kind of overcome. There are two things. My mindset about this is 2 ways. Is either redefine what is existing in the market in a way that that solves an issue or a problem for a niche within the industry. And it doesn't have to be for the entire industry. If you identify that there is about 100 people or 50 people who are having a challenge with a certain thing, you can solve that challenge for them. You're not reinventing the wheel, but you're just modifying it enough for you to give your product or service a unique feature. And that's something that can basically resolve your first question. So, and because we're not Elon Musk, right? And we're not all like making the electric car, electric cars and whatever, but there is room for everybody else to modify a service or to modify a product that makes it completely different all of a sudden.
I fully agree with your perspective on that. For me, there's 2 sides to this. One of them is there's a danger of people in the entrepreneurial space putting on their rose-tinted glasses and thinking just because they are good at something or just because they're passionate at something, that if they follow their passion, there's a business around it. We've heard the analogy of sports. I used to play rugby, not so much anymore, but take that as an example. If I spent an extra 10 hours a day playing rugby, I'd never get paid for it. I just wasn't good enough, Right. Some people, you might have a passion, and this is where the kind of the flip side to, yes, you should follow your passion, but into a business only if you can monetize that.
Right.
If you're not able to, and you're just following passion, and you haven't actually worked out why the world might need whatever that passion is for you, then you don't actually have a business, you have a hobby.
Yeah.
And that's the key difference, is understanding, are you doubling down on a hobby, or are you actually doubling down on a business? Because when we take away all of the other reasons why you might want to start a business to change the world, to all this sort of the positive thought process around that, a business has to make money in order to function, because otherwise you won't be able to pay yourself. Sure. You won't be able to bring employees on. You won't be able to have that much impact if the business doesn't make money. So first and foremost, you need to understand who your customer is and what gap in the market you're actually filling.
100%. And I feel like that comes in different folds. I mean, 100% that your business model should effectively or theoretically make sense down the line. But a lot of businesses also start for the first year or 2 years making zero money.
But they must have a business plan. Yeah,
of course, exactly. So you're
exactly
100%. So like in theory, your business plan should stand on solid grounds. But and that's what's the difference between turning a hobby into a business where you are super passionate about your work, that you're willing to do it for free for a very long time until that tipping point arrives.
Yeah.
So there are two things there's a tipping point to every business, and understanding when that tipping point, where that tipping point is, and be patient about it. And then the second thing is, are you an expert in this field? So you could be passionate about something, but you really don't have the 10,000 hours under your belt.
Yeah.
So then partner with people who have that 10,000 hours.
Exactly.
And that's something else that we sometimes forget about. And because, like you can't run a business on your own. So like, and that's something that we all learned along the way. So if you are super passionate about, I don't know, creating a menu or food or sports, but you know that you're not the expert. So like, that's when you need to look out to create a team around you that are having that expertise.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going back to your point about working for free. That we hear that more and more now. That's a strategy at the end of the day. That's a strategy in order to allow you to make money down the line. So even if that is your business plan to say, right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a content creator and hit up all these companies, I'm going to do all this stuff for free. At some point, you know that the reason you're doing that is to create a base of work where you can actually showcase the stuff that you've done so that you can then start to charge. Yeah. So that is, even if you haven't written that out, that is kind of a business plan right there. So it's understanding why you're going down this route and also understanding, at what point you're able to flip it, as you said.
Yeah, 100%. And before that tipping point as well, there's a leverage that you have to create with your own audience. So like and maybe we'll get to that in a bit more detail as well. Like once you identify who is your audience, like what's your target market, why should they care, and what value are you going to add to them, you need to start adding value to that target group way before you ask for a sale. Yeah. And it's something that Gary Vee does, is something that a lot of the content creators online they do is, and especially these days, is not a lot of people, for example, in the YouTube world or content creator world, they're not really basing their business on AdSense, but what they're basing their business on is products, merchandise, services.
Yeah.
And it's all about creating that audience that really cares about what you have to say or the added value that you're giving them, that they're willing to convert into a sale outside of the platform that you've captured them on.
Yeah.
So using your content strategy or using even like social media platforms to grow an audience and then focusing on that audience, giving them enough value for them to then have leverage, or for you to have leverage over them to convert them into a sale. And that takes time.
Building a community is, it's a long-term play, and it's 100% the right direction to go. I mean, the question you need to ask yourself when you're setting up, let's say you're sat in your job and you've got this idea for a business. The question you need to ask yourself is exactly who am I trying to sell to, and how do I speak to them? Now, there's two different ways of doing that. One is to create that community first, as you've said there. By creating high quality content, you bring your tribe together, and then you bring your service or product into that. The other way is to say, right, well, if we're going to go down the advertising route and say, right, I've got this service or I've got this product, how do I then speak to my target market, which I know is out there? But the problem is that most people don't do at the beginning is they don't clearly define exactly who they're trying to sell to. Now, if you don't know exactly who you're trying to sell to and who your customers are, how on earth can you create content for them? Because you don't know what they like, you don't know what they want to do, you don't know what their desires are, you don't know how to motivate them in order to become from passive to actually becoming a customer of yours. So it's clearly defining exactly who you're going to speak to.
And a lot of the times when we talk to people who are just about to start businesses, and when they are a little bit lost about who their target audience is, that gives me personally a clue that they don't know what their product is. Because if you are completely, fully immersed within your service and product, it's very easy to identify your audience. But if you're not too sure what you're offering, you're kind of you'll be like, yeah, but it's everybody. But actually, it's not everybody.
It's just lazy, and everybody means nobody, because you can't just speak to everybody.
100%.
You're not Google.
Yeah, exactly. and then it probably brings us to the point where how much time have you spent on your product or service? And before monetizing your product or service, is it really good? Is it something that that other people are willing to adopt or sponsor and feature? Like we were talking about, for example, the Smith Street Paleo, the food program, and how it's easy for people to recommend it to friends because it's a good product. And when you are creating something new, whether it's a service or a product, can friends around you recommend you for other people? You know what I mean? And can, for example, even strangers recommend your product or service? If you are getting this kind of credibility from your circle of friends or even the wider circle, then it's a good time to start thinking about monetization.
I 100%. I mean, that brings us to the point of the downside of business in terms of protecting that downside. What can you do in order to test the market? And testing the market is key. If you're in a role and you're about to leave a very comfortable job, you're about to leave benefits, you're about to about to move out into the great unknown of entrepreneurship.